The first order of business is to fire the booking agent who books you behind the comedian to give you a serious talk about why everyone isn't a libertarian. So booking agent's going to get fired. But anyway, that is the topic tonight. I want to talk to you a little bit. And surprisingly, Andrew and I did not coordinate notes, but we're going to make some of the same points, at least on the serious side. I am a longtime entrepreneur, grew up in North Louisiana. My dad was an engineering instructor, and so he had a fair set of engineering jokes. And so before I tell this joke, I'm going to tell some things tonight that are like jokes, just not as funny as Andrew's. So please participate with me and laugh along and make me feel comfortable here. But my dad's favorite engineering joke was told, and it was based in the time of the French Revolution, and it talked about a priest and a lawyer and an engineer who had been convicted of high crimes during the Revolution, and they were sentenced to death. And of course the French method of execution was the guillotine. And so they take the priest up to the guillotine and they strap him in and they pull the cord and nothing happens. And the priest, of course, says, "Thank you, Lord, you have saved me," and goes, and they don't believe in second chances, so he goes about his merry way. And then the lawyer goes to the guillotine and they put his head in the guillotine and they pull the trigger again and nothing happens. And the lawyer, of course, says, "Lady Justice, justice always prevails." And then they bring the engineer to the guillotine. And the engineer starts to put his head in the guillotine. And, of course, then he looks up and he sees the problem and immediately says, "You know, guys, if you take that pen out, this damn thing will work." And what's specific about that joke is it made me think driving down here this evening that maybe it's funnier if instead of being an engineer, they're a libertarian. So that's where I'll leave you with that thought today. I am a long-time entrepreneur, and the definition of entrepreneurship that I like the most is a definition from a guy by Dr. Howard Stevenson, who says entrepreneurship is the pursuit of opportunity beyond resources currently controlled. And if you think about that definition, it has a lot of similarities to what you do in a political contest, right? Everyone starts a political race pursuing something that they hope to reach without all the resources under control. And so, you know, I think many of you probably have asked the same question I have. What does it take to get a libertarian candidate over the finish line in really significant races? And how's that really going to happen? And what we see in entrepreneurship all the time, I have young entrepreneurs come pitch me all the time. And they've invented something, right? They have some new whatchamacallit that's just great. And they believe that everybody in the world's going to buy that, right? And they'll give you a business plan that says in the first year we're going to sell 1 million. The second year we're going to sell 10 million. And the third year we're going to sell 50 million, right? And I often tell them, well, you know how long it took Microsoft to get to 50 million in revenue? Arguably the most successful company in the history of software. I once spoke at an event after Steve Ballmer, and during Q&A I asked Ballmer, I said, did you guys ever at Microsoft ever have that day where most startups have, where you're sitting around, you're like worried about making payroll on Friday, you know, how you're going to make things meet? And you ever have any problems with cash flow or anything? And he thought for a second. He said, no. No, we didn't. Never had that problem at Microsoft. But it took Microsoft 8 years to get to 50 million in revenue, even though they were incredibly successful. And so entrepreneurs are often shocked when it takes a long time. And they often ask this question, kind of, why doesn't everyone buy my product? And it hits me that it's the same question that we as libertarians are often asking ourselves. Why isn't everyone a libertarian? Or at least, maybe not everyone a libertarian, but certainly why aren't there enough libertarians that we can make a significant impact in major races on major issues that affect the country? And so I think it relates to something that Andrew was very much pointing out, and that's the concept of how people make decisions. And so one of the things I've learned through being an entrepreneur for 25 years is this idea that most of the time people aren't out thinking about the things that you're interested in. Okay, the people that are gathered here are obviously very interested and involved in politics and up to date, and I've had numerous conversations today that started very deeply involved in issues But most people aren't worried about that, right? So the decision stages most people go through, the first stage is they don't even know about an issue, don't care about the issue, haven't spent any time thinking about it. And that's a very rational place to be. But then they're forced to make a decision. And that may be in buying a product, or in the case of a political race, buying a candidate. That decision is a very emotional decision. And how do we know that that's an emotional decision? Well, there's all kinds of brilliant research around this topic, but one of the things they've found that's, to me, fascinating is people who've had the emotional centers of their brains damaged, okay, through some physical trauma, have trouble making decisions. Let me repeat that because it's so fascinating. Their emotional centers have been damaged. They don't respond to emotions. They can't be scared. They don't have emotional reactions, but that translates into them not being able to make decisions. Okay? And so when we make decisions, that is by definition an emotional action. And then what do, Andrew? We spend all our time rationalizing that emotional decision. And we think, therefore, that we are rational animals. But we are not. And the best model for that is the elephant and rider model. And we're going to play with that a little bit in a moment here. How many of you have heard of the elephant and rider model? Okay. We've got two psychologists in the room. Good to see. And the model says that your brain, one brain, is essentially of two minds. There is a rational rider that sits on top of an emotional elephant. The elephant is automatic. The elephant is emotional. The elephant makes decisions. It is not dumb. It doesn't think. It makes emotional reactions. The rider is conscious, is analytical, is verbal. The rider thinks. But what's the challenge with the rider on top of an elephant? Well, if the rider's on top of an elephant, how much control does the rider have over what we decide? Very little, right? The rider by themselves can accomplish nothing. They must get the elephant moving in the right direction. Now, of course, the elephant by itself is chaotic. It wanders. It does not follow a clear path. It moves across many different paths, whatever the mood hits it. And so, of course, to drive change in people, you must frame a message that motivates the elephant to follow the rider. And so that, from a political perspective, is what we as libertarians must do. And there are all kinds of implications of this model, and it's very effective. The rider tends to overanalyze. The rider tends to get tired. And so because of that, what do people do in their day-to-day lives around decision-making? They look for shortcuts. I would argue that the Republican and Democratic labels are shortcuts for people. They define a team. They help me make a whole bunch of decisions that otherwise I would have to spend all kinds of time analyzing, but I don't have to do that. I can just turn on Fox News if I'm of one camp or MSNBC of the other camp, and I can find out exactly what I should think. So the elephant looks for shortcuts. It follows the herd. You know, now that I think about it, is it any surprise that the major parties are represented by a big elephant and a big ass? I'm not, that kind of makes perfect sense now that I think about it. I hadn't considered that thought before. So what we're going to do is we're going to play a little game here. We're going to divide the room in half, okay? And so if you're on my left, these two rows of tables here, we're going to make you the elephant, okay? And these two sets of tables on the right-hand side of the room, we're going to make you the riders, okay? And so I want you to react. Now remember, the elephant reacts purely emotionally. The elephant does not think. The elephant is not capable of verbalizing thought. The elephant can only react emotionally. And the rider totally analyzes. Okay, so for my elephants over here, okay, I just want you to react to this. Make America great again. No, you got it wrong. You thought. Who could be against making America great again? To boo that, you must have assigned some meaning to Make America Great Again. You were being writers. And that's the whole entire problem with the Libertarian Party. We've got a bunch of writers. We need elephants, okay? We need people who can emotionally motivate people to move in the right direction, because no elephant gets upset at Make America Great Again, okay? All of us want to make America great again. What's the writer's reaction to Make America Great Again? Wait a minute, when was America great? What does he mean by that? What are we going to change? That's what the writer sounds like, right? Now, let's try it again, see if y'all can improve. Let's try another one. I am with her. It reminded me of having to go to my wife's cousin's wedding, you know, and you walk in and you're like, oh, yeah, I'm with her, right? I mean, whoever thought that was, I don't know, I don't get it. Okay, so what we're looking for in my mind is very simply an issue and a person to carry the elephant message so we have time to convince the writer. We have all the arguments on our side. We have the analysis. We have the right positions. The thing we got to do is find an elephant mover. And so, you know, now I'm going to talk about things I'm not an expert in at all. I am not a messaging expert. Okay, but when you think about the things where the majority of the American people might be on our side, but they are not represented by the current policies of either party, right? I mean, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for something that is a majority issue that is not being currently represented. So I'm just going to try some. You know, take these, see what you think. Here's one I came up with on the way down. We love our families. Let's bring our troops home. Hey, you like that? Like that? Oh, yeah, okay. So see what I did there? I didn't talk about anything about foreign policy. I don't have to understand anything, but I got the elephant moving in the right direction. Then I can hit them with everything about the writer, right? Here's another one. We love our kids. Let's not spend their money. This is another one we might could try. My money, my choice. You like that? You like that? I ought to be able to buy whatever I want. Government for the people. That one's been used before, but might be time to recycle, right? And so what we're looking for, I think we've spent so much time in the Libertarian Party wanting to debate policy, and I love debating policy. But if you go back to my original comment about entrepreneurship, it's the pursuit of opportunity without resources. What we've got to decide as a Libertarian Party is, what opportunity are we really pursuing? Are we pursuing the opportunity to make a difference, to change policy at a significant level, both at the state and national government? Or are we looking to form a debate club that argues about arcane issues that are very philosophically motivating but aren't going to move anybody's elephant? And so the thought I'd leave you with tonight as we move into the political season, as we start nominating candidates and we start thinking about what 2020 looks for, is think about the elephant we're looking for. And it's not necessarily a person, it's a movement, but it's an idea that the majority can get behind, and then we can convince them why we're right. Thank you for your time.